Okay, I am Renee Ryan. This is my second episode of Off the Shelf. And as all of you know, this is all about books, books, books. And I have every week a guest who is a book lover, who is somebody that also is somebody that I know or is a book influencer or something to do with books. For me, I am a multi-published, award-winning author, best-selling author. And what I wanted to do with this show is talk about books that I find really exciting and just talk about that with readers as opposed to the author or as opposed to other authors, and just talk about how I love books and what I love about books from a reader perspective and an author perspective. And I have a special guest with me today. Her name is Hillary. And I think as soon as she smiled and as we are screened next to each other, you might know that there's a little bit of a relationship here. This is my gorgeous daughter, and Hillary is a nurse. You have a BSN and you are working on your nurse practitioner position, job, or whatever it is, degree? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I sound so stupid. No, I knew that. And so anyway, she's trying not to roll her eyes at me. And that's okay. That's what moms and daughters do. And then also you were for a long time working as a cardiothoracic vascular nurse in the ICU.
Yeah.
And now you are working in is it a cancer clinic? Oncology, hematology?
Yep. I work at a hematology oncology clinic helping people get bone marrow transplants for leukemia and lymphomas.
Okay. So she's kind of smart. And now we're going to talk about, so I wanted to introduce her first, and I just adore her. She's so smart and insightful. And the first thing that I'd like to ask you, Hillary, before we get started on our great book that we're going to talk about tonight, tell me about how you became a reader.
I actually it was right after nursing school when I had all of a sudden all of this free time because I only worked 3 days a week, and I just really missed the academic part of my life. But at the same time, like I wanted to do more reading for fun. And so I ended up getting really, really into fantasy and sci-fi books, actually. And then that kind of expanded into basically talking to random people that I worked with of like, okay, well, what do you like? How do you like to read? And like, where do you get books? And so I started, I joined Book of the Month Club. And so I've been doing that for a little over like 2 years now, I think. And so just every month it became this thing that like me and a ton of nurses would just pick out a book and read it and then talk about it. It was great.
That is so cool. That's so cool. And so you have a lot of friends that are readers, or is it more fellow nurses?
No, it's actually like basically it started out of I had a couple friends in nursing that wanted to read, and they all came up with really great books. And then I found Book of the Month Club. And then from that, I would just be hanging out with friends. We would be talking and they'd be like, oh, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm reading a lot. And so then it came out that a lot of my other friends are readers too. And so then we just started swapping books, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's fun. So, and then aside from reading, I know you also do you still have your bachelor and bachelorette parties and those kind of?
Yes, every Monday night. Basically, it's just an excuse to hang out with friends and drink wine at this point. I could not believe what's happened the past couple of weeks.
I love that. I love that you are a reader and that you and your friends do all that binge watching of, those really highly intellectual, whatever they are, series, reality shows. I know your cousins, they watch like that Southern Charm, and they watch like the Real Housewives. And so it's interesting because one thing, everybody, that I didn't say is that Hillary, we won't say your age, but you're in your 20s still, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the fact that I had to say right tells you that I'm trying not to say your age. I know how old you are. I was there when you were born. I do remember.
Yes. No, I'm proud to almost be out of my 20s.
Okay, almost out, but not quite. But I just love this. And that was the other thing. And one of the reasons why I asked you to be here today is it's so important to me to get the insight of a 20s and 30s what, knowing that you're watching The Bachelorette with your friends and The Bachelor with your friends, and then also really hungry and voracious readers, it's so interesting to see what you're reading. So before we talk about this book, what's your favorite? You said you started with the fantasy and you're into this book club. What are you gravitating toward? What kind of books are you going toward?
Man, it changes all the time. I probably like my top 3 favorite genres right now is anything, and I would call it a genre now just because I feel like there's so many books that fit into it, is like anything Greek mythology. So Circe, Song of Achilles, anything like that I absolutely love. I really like thrillers. I just read the book of the month club that I got this month was called Rock, Paper, Scissors. And I really, really liked that. Sometimes I struggle with thrillers because I feel like they sometimes can like drag on for the first, like you just don't get enough, and then like it wraps up really quick in the last like 30 minutes. So shout out to Rock, Paper, Scissors because that was a good one the whole way through.
Well, you like true crime too. So don't you listen to true crime podcasts? So you're probably coming from a little bit of a different background.
Not much that can shock me, I feel like. But no, that was a really good one. So like I'll definitely like, I feel that that's always like kind of a safe option. It's like, man, I feel like I haven't read anything good in a while. I'm gonna read a thriller just to like kind of get back in it. And then the other genre that I really like is kind of just like a throwaway like beach romance of like, we're friends, are we? And so then like I always love those books too. Those are really great. But
contemporary romance, would you say, like the bigger ones, not like the little tiny ones, but more of a bigger
I'm trying
romance?
To like, yeah, but it's like it's hard. It's like I can't even remember like the last one that I can't, it's like I like them, but I can't even remember the last like name of it that I kind of, but
yeah.
They're
Yeah, so they would fall under would you say they would fall in kind of like the Bachelorette, your Bachelor mode? It's just some fun entertainment. Would that be why you do the,
yeah, like kind of like you're reading it and you're just like,
how's that again? You want to repeat that? Okay, so let's get into our book tonight. It's called The Lost Apothecary, and by Sarah Penner. And I find this interesting because this was a debut book. Mm-hmm. This was her first book, and it's been so successful. It's super buzzy. So many people have read it, all ages, all kinds of people, mostly women. I would definitely say this is a book targeted for women. So just tell me, like, what drew you to the book? Was it one of your book club book choices? Is that how you found it?
It was, and it super intrigued me from the very beginning. Like, I loved the idea. I love the separate timeline arc, and then I love the idea of. It seemed to me whenever I was reading the description, it kind of seemed like it was going to be a little bit more magical to me, and that is. That kind of falls into like that Greek mythology thing. Like I do love a magical book, like an Alice Hoffman Rules of Magic like type thing. And so I think that's kind of how it was marketed to me maybe. And so I thought it was going to be a little bit different than it was. But I do love it. It seemed very, the true crimey dual timeline, historical kind of magic-y feel is essentially what like drew me in.
That's interesting that you said that it had been sort of marketed and you were thinking it was more magical. And I think that the little character Eliza, who was the 12-year-old, what did you think of her? Because she sort of was thinking about ghosts, and I know when she had her first menstrual cycle,
yes.
She thought that she was possessed by a ghost. She didn't know that it was, just the unfortunate, the ignorance that she had, that nobody had prepared her. I mean, what did you think of Eliza?
I loved Eliza, but also I'm still not convinced that my period isn't a demonic possession. So hurts real bad.
You have really bad periods. I mean, we're getting raw right here. We're talking, but I do remember that it was often a really rough couple of days, last week, when you were in my home, and I do remember that, and it was. And I'm sure that if your husband was anywhere near around, he would pop in and say nothing has changed.
Yeah, not much. But Eliza, I really kind of struggled with her. Like it was a really uncomfortable character for some reason for me to kind of read. Like, I just hated the place that she was in, and like like it was just sad, and you could see that she was reaching, and she was a very magical child. That it definitely brought in that element of a child in a very unfortunate situation trying to survive, and like it being so hard for her to like kind of struggle through and like finally find something of like I can help and I can belong here, and then like it all, you know, at the end kind of tumble away.
Yeah, her innocence really was robbed, and I can see why that would be uncomfortable, because you know, she had these older women and the older man that were supposed to be taking care of her, and yet there she was at their mercy. And because she came from the country, I felt like, you know, Sarah did a really great job of portraying it, just her ignorance as innocence. Like she was such an innocent, pure character. And even when she was so the story, let's take a step back. So the idea of this book, the story of this book, is about the Lost Apothecary, and it's a woman who is the apothecary, and her mother had been a healer for women, and so that was how this apothecary started. And then her mother died when she was young, and the main character Nella is the apothecary, and this is back in 1791 was the time period, or the 1790s, right? 91, I think, And so then after she was also kind of, I thought that Eliza was a really good character to kind of mirror how Nella lost her innocence when her mother died, and she was then left alone, and how she was preyed upon by a man. And then what started as a chance for her to basically heal, she then becomes a healer in a different way. She provides poisons for women whose husbands are doing them wrong and either beating them or treating them poorly or cheating on them, and she provides poisons to them so that they can get rid of their husbands. And so I feel like we needed to back up a step, and that's kind of the story. And then we have Eliza, who comes in, and she's one of a woman's maid who was then brought into the Mrs. Is it Atwell? I think Amwell. Her employer wants to kill the husband because he has become starting to touch her, and she's not the first one, and he's just not a good man. And so, unfortunately, Eliza is the one that has to go get the poison and poison him, and so she becomes very culpable in this murder. And so you're right, it's a very sad, difficult story. And yet it's also somewhat understandable. And then there's also the dual timeline where we have Caroline, who's the main modern day heroine, she's found out her husband has cheated on her. And so her process is obviously a little bit different because it's modern day, and she's not going to poison her husband, or so we think. Yes. And so what did you think of Caroline, that character? Modern day.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's very noble of her, like, to continue to go on, I guess, the anniversary trip. Again, it was hard for me to like read her part of the story. Like, I really enjoyed when she was researching and falling in love with like what her loves always were, and then she was able to kind of remember like who she was
before she married. Yeah,
and I think that's really important. I think it's really sad when people get married and lose that part of themselves. And so like that part was really really cool. And it like, it's hard for me because it's like, I hate that she had to be cheated on to be able to like have the freedom to kind of discover that again. But I also, yeah, like the husband coming and like kind of throwing a wrench in her like whole storyline was kind of interesting too. I thought her boldness throughout like her journey of trying to like, I loved all the people that she got to meet and just like the randomness of it all, but then like how purposeful it was as she was like discovering this story. So I liked her character a lot. It was again kind of like a hard, uncomfortable read of just like a woman who has like forgotten herself and her husband cheated on her, and she's like, well, here are the pieces, what should I do? And so I love that she was able to like continue to do what she like, that she got to find something that she
well, she was kind of your age. I mean, I would say
Yeah.
she was within a year or two of you, because she got married right out of college, and you were 21 when you got married, and you're going on 9 years next year, right? Because it's been 8. So, and it was a 10-year anniversary trip that, you know, right before the 10-year anniversary trip, she discovers the husband's cheating on her. So I could see how that character probably was, I mean, I felt the whole thing was a little uncomfortable because it was all about, it was all about infidelity on the male's part, on the men's part, on, you know, both in the historical time period and the modern time period. And in the historical time period, these women were trapped in their marriages.
Yeah.
And they were trapped in their situations. And so their out, right or wrong, in this particular book, their out was to poison the men that trapped them in their lives.
So that they would have some sort of life afterwards and like rights.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Right. And then in the modern day, you know, and there was also a real juxtaposition of we've come a long way, you know, from being trapped in the marriage. And yet women still can lose themselves in a marriage and still find themselves trapped. And, you know, and she's, even in the very beginning with Caroline, the modern day heroine, you get the sense that she fell into the marriage. She kind of got talked into getting married.
Yeah.
She fell into this new job. She gave up her dreams. And there she is. She wakes up and wonders, how did we get here? And she does somewhat take part of the responsibility of the husband cheating, because, you know, she's as unhappy as he is. It's just that he makes the really bad choice.
Yeah.
And so I just found that I think this whole book about infidelity and how women are handling their infidelity was an interesting book. I would love to meet the author and find, because I know she's happily married from everything that I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And she's, I think, probably around your age, maybe a little bit older. And it's just interesting to see that this is the kind of book that she wrote. You can see that she loves history, because I found the historical, and again, I like historical fiction.
Yeah.
I found that the historical chapters were so well done. And the one thing that I felt Sarah did such a good job of was, I felt when I was reading Eliza and Nella that they were historical people. Just as soon as I started reading the first sentence, I knew I was in a historical novel. She didn't need to tell me it was 1790, whatever. I knew it. And then when I was in Caroline's, I didn't need her to tell me present day, because she did such a good job of having different voices. And I think that is, as an author, very difficult to do. I was really impressed with that.
I mean, Nella was definitely the person that I loved the most. I liked her character. I loved her storyline. I thought like her up and down with like the way that she processed things. I loved it all.
So you love Nella. And, you know, I think that Nella, again, she was trapped in her life because her mother didn't prepare her, much like Eliza's mother didn't prepare her for life on her own.
Yeah.
And, you know, life in London in this terrible time period when women didn't have an opportunity to take care of them, you know, that it was very difficult to be able to have to live a life and have a living and make a living and survive without a man. And, you know, and then just the tragedy of her life. And this is such a hard book, because to talk about, because I don't want to give spoilers so that people that want to read the book will read the book. And yet, to have a really good conversation, you need to have some of those spoilers, you know, to talk about the actual, some of the things that happen in this book. But okay, so I'm going to give you a little spoiler, and it's a little family history that I don't know if you know. And I said, I warned you I was going to tell you this.
I know.
So you know that on my daddy's side, they came to America before the Revolution, American Revolution. So, you know, DAR, old family, old Southern family. And so they all came, they came over during that time, and in Georgia, North Georgia, and they owned, you know, property, and it was a big family. And okay, so let's go back to the Lost Apothecary. One of the main storyline with Nella is that she has a woman come to her, and the one thing that Nella always does, and she's the apothecary, is that she never ever harms women. She always does. Every time that she would provide poison to these women, it was to take care of the men in their lives that were hurting them. It was never to hurt the women. And she also did healing too. Yeah. So what ends up really sort of twisting the story into a bad place is that the woman that comes to her, she wants to kill her husband's mistress, who is also her husband's cousin. And back at that, yeah, but no, back in that time, that was kind of not quite as taboo as it is now, and same in the South. So as I say that, and I don't know if you remember my daddy, his grandmother was also his great aunt.
Yes.
Because cousins married. Yeah. And so they called her Auntie Grandma. However, the other thing is that she poisoned her husband.
Oh, I did not know that.
No. Bing, bing, bing. And so I'm sitting there reading this book going, and the thing is that it's like family, it's all been documented. She poisoned her husband. She did not go to jail or prison or whatever. She didn't get arrested because they couldn't prove it, because I think it was rat poison, but they couldn't prove that she was the one that gave it to him, even though she told everybody, I killed my husband with some rat poison.
Amazing. I did not know that.
Well, I was talking to my sister, and Robin said that, I said, that was Auntie Grandma, right? That killed that poisoned the husband. And she said, well, I don't know for sure, but it was either her or her cousin that poisoned him. And so when I was reading this book about this woman who wants to poison the mistress, who's the cousin, and I'm thinking about Auntie Grandma, and I was like, oh my gosh, she poisoned her husband.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I know, right? And I was reading the author notes, and she was like, well, you know, they will never really know how many people died of poisoning back then. Yeah. And you know, if you've ever read any Agatha Christie, it's a very female weapon of choice to killing someone is poisoning. The poison it's a very female thing, and it's because there's an intimacy and a trust that's involved in the relationships that puts you in a place where you can poison that person. And so yes, Hillary, you come from murderesses, and
I am that is incredible.
So now you can have an actual personal connection to the book.
I know, seriously. And I mean, where was this story at every family gathering?
You know, that's so funny is that my father, you know what happens is, like, you hear the same stories over and over and over again, and you kind of just sort of stop listening to them. And now that, you know, my daddy just died recently, I wish I had done a better job of writing those stories down, because he would talk about it all the time. Because, and he would talk about Auntie Grandma, and he would talk about his family all the time. But because he had talked about it so much, I even kind of quit listening. And, you know, and shame on me. And also, and my sister's been better at it. I've documented a lot of it, and she's really started documenting it. But I wish that I had done a better job. And also, I think there's something to be said for a lack of pride and knowing that that's part of your history. I mean, not something that I'm going to be running around going, yeah, I had a ancestor that poisoned her husband and got away with it.
I don't know.
I was proud of it.
I feel like there's a lot of people out there that would love that story.
You had to tell your husband. He'll love it. He'll go, oh, no way. Yeah. Yep. I wish I had told you beforehand, because I think you would have read the book differently.
I know. Yeah. It is really interesting. I mean, like, it's a very interesting concept, like, just in general of, is it, I don't know. I mean, is it poisoning somebody for cheating on you? I mean, like, it was just such a different time. I mean, like, where it was just so common, like, in general, for husbands to cheat on, like, in the, like, historical time period. Like, that was just so common to have mistresses all the time. I can't remember what I was reading recently, but it was just talking. The husband was like, "Why did I end up with a wife who?" I can't remember. The first book is called Bringing Down the Duke, which is so good. And it's the second book, but I can't remember what it's called. But literally, like, the opening scene is the husband, the daughter overhears a conversation between her parents where her mom is just like, why do you have to be so open about this relationship when, like, it's right in front of my face? And he's like, why couldn't I just get a wife who, like, understands that this is, like, what I want? And it's like,
what we do. I'm a man. Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that existed, but I know it did. And it's like, is infidelity enough to be like, all right, let's kick it?
Yeah. Right. Well, what's so interesting is that there's a 1930s movie called The Women. Have you watched it? Have you seen it? I need to get it, and we need to watch it next time I'm down there to visit you, because it's called The Women, and it was made in the 1930s, so it's a black and white, but it's only women in the story, and it was the first movie in the 1930s, really kind of groundbreaking, of only women on screen, behind the screen, director, producer, everybody. It was all women. But it's called The Women, but it's all about the main heroine who discovers her husband is cheating with, they call her the spritzer girl. So it's the woman at, like, a cosmetic counter that does the spritzing. So I guess they spritzed way back in the 1930s too, and they called her the spritzer girl. And she finds out that he's having an affair, and she keeps having these conversations with her mother about, like, she's ready to leave him. She's got a daughter, and I think the daughter's like 12 or 13. And it was, and at the time they could go, I think it was to Reno or Nevada or something. They could get, like, a quickie divorce. And these are, like, the upper crust New Yorkers. And so she's telling her mom that she's going to go to Reno and get this divorce. She's done. She's like, he cheated on me. I'm done. And the mother keeps telling her, honey, this is every marriage. You're supposed to look the other way. Ugh. And she refuses to look the other way. And it's actually, it's kind of it's a really good movie. And there's a lot of comedy in it too. So it's not just a really dark movie. And the only time there's a single vision of a man is at the very end. He starts to have his doubts, and he tries to get her back. He tries to win her back. And at the very end, you see her heading toward him, and all you see is, like, his pant leg. And that's the most you see of a man in the entire movie. Oh my God. His pant leg. Amazing. But it's such a good movie. They did a remake with Meg Ryan and Jada Pinkett Smith and Deborah Messing. Not nearly as good as the original. The original, I think it's because of the time period, but like you said, because now, they did it modern 2000s, like in the mid 2000s. And I think that you catch husband cheating on you, you just leave them. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's not, just, it's different mores. And that was the thing that I thought was a really good way that this book dealt with it, was that the modern day infidelity is handled so differently than, the historical infidelity. And there was more stakes involved for a woman during infidelity. All right. So I have to ask, what would you do if you found that your husband was being unfaithful?
I mean, I have said many a time I'm not a stand by your man kind of girl, but I mean, I would hope that, like, I think that and I say that of just, like, get out, like absolutely not. But I think that there is like, I mean, there's a human element to any situation, and I don't think that like somebody just accidentally falls into cheating. I don't think that you just like if you are ever putting yourself in a situation of like, oops, did it. I think that there's a lot more to it, and so I would hope that like one, it would never get to that, but if it did, I would hope that like, I don't know, that there would be some sort of conversation or some sort of reconciliation. I mean, like, I've built my life with this person, and there's more than just me and him. There's
the children, yeah. But you'd like to think that I've never understood why the conversation is after the fact. Why is the conversation not on the front end? What is it in somebody? And again, I don't have it in me to be a cheater, so I don't understand it. I've been cheated on.
Yeah.
And what I never understood was the conversation. I was here the whole time. Why are we having this conversation now? The conversation should have been, why didn't you just come to me? Why is this conversation on the back end? And if you were that unhappy, leave. Why did you can't have both? Why would you want both? And so that's the part that I've never understood is the I think it's a cowardly way. It's a temporary solution and a cowardly way to deal with a problem. And I say that because I've been cheated on and that I've never made that choice.
Well, and I think like I really do think that if it came down to it, where like it was a true cheating. I think that it would only make sense personally for me to end a marriage, just because it's like, if it's gotten to that point, like, why would you be staying? Like, what's in it for both of us at this point? Like, I don't think I could ever trust again. I don't know. But I mean,
well, and you're right. You don't accidentally fall into a cheating scenario. It's built over time. There's an intimacy that's built over time. And, that intimacy is built in all these little, in little ways that you can see it. You could have stopped it before it got there. Or, these are signs that you're unhappy,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if you're unhappy, then I understand, like, I mean, it hurts, but like, I understand. And I don't like, it's easier, it feels like sometimes, just to break in order to like move on and like build something beautiful, like completely separate. But I mean,
which is what that Caroline did in the book. She
absolutely. And
spoiler alert.
But I mean, like sometimes things just have to like completely break in order to like find something else. And like, just because something bad happens, like, doesn't mean that like your life is over. And there's always something to move forward on and like to.
Yeah, there was a line in the book, I think toward the very end of the book, in Caroline's point of view, where she said something along the lines of that they were broken, that they were both unhappy, and that he just was the one to make the bad mistake, but she was just as unhappy. And so she never really, it wasn't a forgiveness in terms of, I forgive you, let's get back together. It was, I forgive you enough not to hate you so that I can move on.
Yes.
And I felt like that was very smart way for Sarah being the author to handle the infidelity, the modern day infidelity.
Yeah, I think that's a really real and like healthy way to look at that. Plus a lot of counseling. But
so which part did you really resonated with Nella? Would you say that was your favorite character, the apothecary?
I loved how she had a pretty crappy life. Like, a lot of really crappy things happened to her, but she had a skill that she could use and she could help other people with. And I think that was really genuine. And I think that like she was able to find herself in it. At the same time, like, it was very isolating for her because she didn't want to, let a lot of people in because she had been hurt. And so like, I would have loved to have seen her open up a little bit more. And I think the fact that she did open up to a child was really sweet and innocent. But I loved her part of the story. I thought it was
very sympathetic, sympathetic. Yeah. I felt like Caroline, I've read 1,000,001 books about Caroline, so many of the cheated on woman trying to find her life. And
Yeah.
So that part of it, I felt like, to me, I saw how it wove into the story, and I thought she was great with taking a cliche and weaving it into a story that made it a little less of a cliche. But as far as, and I thought if it hadn't been for her trying to solve the mystery, I don't think that I would have liked it as much. So yeah. All right. Well, anything else before we go? Was there, what last thoughts about the book?
Oh, I don't know. No, I mean, I really liked it. I feel like I've recommended it a lot. I've given it to a couple people. Some people really like it. I feel like a majority of the people that I've given the book to have really liked it. I think that everybody kind of does get pulled in by that, like, kind of magical, historical aspect of it, of just like, I don't know. It's really good. Like, it's just like
it's a gorgeous cover. I mean, I can see where you would kind of think that it was going to be a little magical just with the cover.
And I love, like, I can't state enough. I love the triple timeline. Like, I think I like it even more than a double timeline, because I like that it adds in like another perspective.
The three people.
Yeah, I really like the three people timeline a lot. It was a really good book. Like, I liked it, and it's different than like the thing that I said earlier about like the thrillers and stuff like that. Like, I felt like it was very consistently good throughout the whole book. Like, it didn't feel like it all wrapped up in the last like half of the last like 10 pages. Like, it was very good all the way through.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was very character driven and a little less mystery, but the mystery was so important that it informed the character. So I thought that worked as well. So what are you reading now? What's next? What's up next?
So I'm currently reading 2 different books right now.
One? Are you reading this one?
Actually, I was going to say I'm reading 3 books right now, and this is one of them. The Widows of Champagne. No, and then I'm reading a like fantasy sci-fi series called Red Rising, which is very good. So if you like fantasy at all or sci-fi, it is incredible. It's very like Hunger Games-esque, set in space. It's great. And then I'm also reading the second book of Bringing Down the Duke, which for some reason I cannot think of the second title. But
I love how you're all over the place. I think this is something for all the viewers that are writers. I think it's really important, because I think the hardest thing is that we're trying to figure out how to get younger readers. And I think it's really important to know that you and your friends it's about the story. It's about, it's not about, you're not like loyal to only romance or loyal to only thrillers or loyal to only fantasy. You're just looking for a good story.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I watch television too. I mean, like, I almost exclusively watch things on HBO because the quality is so good. I mean, like, I can turn on any show on HBO and know that, like, whether or not I relate to the story or I like it, it's just like going to be enjoyable to watch. It's good, and like that's definitely what I look for in a book.
Oh, that's fun. And in your book club, do you get to pick the book, or do they pick it for you?
You pick.
Okay. You pick. Very cool. But out of what, like 4, 5, 6, 7 choices?
Out of 5 different books, and it kind of changes. Usually there is a thriller. They do a lot of, and I go for them sometimes, but sometimes just like more contemporary, like thought pieces of like, I've read a couple of those. They're just really heavy, and where I'm in school right now, sometimes I like having in-person conversations about like the real world situations versus like reading a book about them. But that's not to say, like, I mean, I still do like them. Like, there's really no book that I won't read. But yes,
I bet you'll read more once you're out of. When are you finishing school?
I still have another year of classes, and then I have about 6 months of clinicals. So it's just a lot of it's a lot of book reading, like textbook reading and article research. So not that I don't, I mean, like, I definitely find time for other stuff, but it is very time consuming.
You're an amazing woman. I'm just so impressed. You've got the 2 babies, and you've got your gorgeous husband. And then you're working full time, and you're going to school. Yes. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. I can barely get walk around the block and write for half the day. So
well, I am an organ down. So
you what?
I'm an organ down. I have one less organ in my body.
Oh, that's right. That daggum gallbladder.
Yes.
I'm minus an appendix. So between the two of us, yep.
Yes.
You have all the good ones. You feeling better now?
Oh yeah. I just can't eat eggs, which is so weird, but otherwise perfectly good.
All right. Well, you shouldn't be eating ice cream. It's bad for your teeth.
Yes. So.
That's the end of what your mama is going to say. Well, thank you, Hillary, for joining me and discussing this really great book. And I just want to say, get it, guys, read it. You won't regret it. This thing is like backwards, so I have the hardest time straightening it out. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. It's we would just recommend it highly enough. So enjoy, and thank you, Hillary, and bye, everybody.